right now at 10.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2016 Republican National Convention.
The grand old gathering in Cleveland is met with protesters outside and inside.
While Indiana's governor makes his way there.
Also tonight, 10 officers targeted and killed in just 10 days.
It's what's bringing a group together tonight in South Bend to show support for police. I'm Veronica Jean Seltzer. Hear what they want to see change in their community.
Plus,
South Bend's mayor says this is the most comprehensive, sophisticated diversity plan in the state. I'm Alexis Gray, and I'll have a reaction from city officials.
We have a diversity problem. No, we have a diversity officer over here, so the diversity officer equals all the solution. No.
And
hundreds showed up to fallen officer Ron Kinzel's funeral today. I'm Molly Jurasek. I'll show you how he's being honored.
The news starts right now.
This is Fox 28 News at 10.
the Republican National Convention now underway in Cleveland. There were protests inside and out. Good evening. We're glad you're here tonight. I'm Tom Powell.
And I'm Farron Franzak. On the outside, it was anti-Trump protesters speaking out against Trump's rhetoric. Well, on the inside, a fight on the floor started by Never Trump delegates who staged a last-minute effort to change all the rules. Chris Welch has the report tonight.
The week-long Republican pep rally in Cleveland is underway.
This convention will come to order.
And right out of the gate, chaos on the convention floor.
I have no idea what's going on right now. This is surreal.
A collection of supporters for Ted Cruz attempted to force a vote to change the convention rules going forward. After 2 voice votes, the RNC rejected that move and then rejected a motion for a roll call vote.
The ayes have it.
If passed, it would have changed some of the rules for the 2020 presidential process, likely making it easier for a conservative like Ted Cruz to get elected. Despite the failed effort, the showdown underscored the divided state of the GOP at a time when the mission is to unite the party and make the case for a Donald Trump presidency. Trump is billing himself as the law and order candidate, with tensions high in the U.S. following a series of recent mass shootings and terror attacks abroad.
And that was Chris Welch reporting. So this is all going on in Ohio. Well, the governor of Ohio and former presidential candidate John Kasich has declined not to speak at the convention.
Yeah, he's not going to speak there. That's what he says. Let's take a live look now at the convention. As you can see, well, not sure what's going on there, but looks like maybe a protester that's being escorted out of the convention hall there in Cleveland. Now, earlier tonight, we heard from a former U.S. Navy SEAL, as well as David Clark, the Milwaukee sheriff, who called the Black Lives Matter movement anarchy. And earlier in the evening, Pat Smith spoke to the crowd, leaving some in tears.
Yeah, Smith lost her son, Sean Smith, in the Benghazi attack. And as you'll hear, she blames the former Secretary of State.
I blame Hillary Clinton. I blame Hillary Clinton personally for the death of my son. That's personally.
Smith says she spoke to her son the day before the 2012 attack and that he told her security had been pulled from the U.S. Embassy.
Well, Trump's running mate, Indiana Governor Mike Pence, will speak Wednesday night at the convention.
Yeah, here's the governor's arrival at the Cleveland-Burke Lakefront Airport tonight. Interestingly enough, Pence received praise today from someone who was actually vying for the VP spot. Governor Chris Christie says, quote, Mike Pence is a great guy, and I'm really relieved Trump picked a governor to be his running mate. Well, there's been a lot of talk about how Trump rolled out his VP pick.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, but the two appeared together on 60 Minutes last night, where they were asked about their differences on some pretty major issues like trade and the war in Iraq. Here's Republican Senator Dan Coates' take on it all.
I think it's the perfect marriage, frankly, between Donald Trump, who can reach out to people that typically haven't been supporting the Republican Party.
What was your role in all of this in making this perfect marriage, as you call it, happen?
Oh, I've been involved a little bit, but look, I mean, the idea is, goal is here, it happened, and I'm really pleased that it happened. And frankly, Mike Pence sold himself.
Again, Governor Pence will speak at the convention on Wednesday night. We'll have that for you here on the news at 10. Republicans weren't the only ones in Ohio today. Democrat Hillary Clinton was in Cincinnati to speak at the NAACP convention.
And we'll have more on that still ahead. Plus, we've got continuing coverage of the Republican National Convention and more on what people are saying about the body language between Trump and Pence. That's all coming up later in Primetime Politics.
Well, it looks like our sunshine was kind of duking it out with the clouds throughout the day today here in Michigan. Early on, you see it on the satellite scan here, clouds were definitely winning, but they started to wane, started to lose a little power, and the sun started to take over, and now they have it well in hand out there. The sun is gone, but the moon and the stars are out. Things are clear out there right now. Just a couple of clouds left over, maybe a couple left over at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning as well, as we get ready for a nice Sunshine Tuesday for you and me here in Michiana. So, how long is that sunshine going to last? I knew you'd ask me that question. I'll have the answer coming your way in just a couple minutes.
All right, thank you, John. Berrien County coming together to honor 2 bailiffs killed in the line of duty.
It was just 1 week ago today. An inmate grabbed a deputy's gun inside the courthouse, killing Ron Kinzel and Joe Zangaro. Fox 28's Molly Jurasek shows us how loved ones remembered Kinzel at his funeral today.
It's going to be hard to forget what happened that day.
Gary Yarrington considers Ron Kinzel a longtime friend.
He had a heart of gold. He'd protect any man on this land. That's why he lost his life in that courthouse that day.
Perhaps an unlikely ally.
When I was a kid, he helped me out many times. He saved my butt.
Yarrington says Kinzel arrested him when he was young.
If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be the man I am today.
He says Kinzel helped set him straight from a life of drugs and crime.
He'll always be in my heart. He'll always...
Here at Crystal Springs Cemetery, police are seeing a new world, where a rash of violence against law enforcement is overwhelming.
He took that very seriously, making sure that his courtroom and his judge were safe, and that's what he did that day.
But Kinzel's colleagues are remembering the good times, too.
Ron was a jokester.
Chief Vincent Fetke says Kinzel once held the door at a gas station for 2 robbers.
And holding a box of donuts and doing so.
Not realizing they were the criminals he was watching for. Sheriff Paul Bailey recalls the time the 2 were assisting with a bad car accident.
Ron's shown his compassion, hugging those children and calming them down.
They say they'll always miss Kinzel.
We know that Ron is looking down on us right now, and he is probably smiling from ear to ear to know that he had this type of a turnout in honor of him.
In Berrien County, I'm Molly Jurasek, Fox 28 News.
Kinzel was a Benton Harbor native and known for loving his Harley. Before he was a bailiff, he served in the military, then as a police officer in Benton Township.
This madness has to stop.
Hillary Clinton vowing, if elected president, to reform the criminal justice system in the wake of yet another crime targeting police. 3 policemen in Louisiana were gunned down yesterday.
Yeah, President Obama ordered flags to be flown at half staff through Friday in honor of those officers. Police say the officers were shot to death by a former Marine who said he wanted to kill cops. Police say Gavin Long also wounded 3 other officers before he was killed. He was first spotted walking down a highway holding a semi-automatic rifle.
This was a diabolical attack on the very fabric of society.
It is the chilling and the sheer brutality of the shooting. There is no doubt whatsoever that these officers were intentionally targeted and assassinated.
Investigators digging into Long's background say he made several videos, one posted from Dallas after the shootings down there. Now, we're also learning more about the officers killed down in Baton Rouge, with one asking for peace on the streets just days before the shooting. Officer Montrell Jackson issued a plea to the community, asking friends and family not to let hate infect their hearts on Facebook. Jackson was with the department for 10 years and leaves behind a wife and 4-month-old son. Officer Brad Garafola leaves behind a wife and 2 children. He served as a former Marine and Black Hawk crew chief in the Army, with friends remembering him as a patriot. Deputy Brad Garafola has been with the sheriff's office for 24 years and leaves behind a wife and 4 children.
Senior Corporal Lauren Ahrens, Patrolman Michael Leslie Kroll.
10 officers now have been targeted and killed all within 10 days in Dallas, Baton Rouge, and in Berrien County.
And their deaths motivated a group to gather tonight in a show of support for police, both locally and nationally.
Fox 28's Veronica Jean Seltzer is live now downtown where the river lights are blue in honor of law enforcement. VJ.
Right, Tom. So often this summer, we've seen these lights lit up in honor of lives lost. Tonight, they represent hope and prayers sent out for police officers. Earlier, a handful of people gathered here to light candles and talk about how to end violence. Several city leaders spoke, including Councilman Oliver Davis, who said everyone should be pro-police, a group you really appreciate in a crisis. Parts of the evening, one of the most moving parts, I should say, of the evening was a prayer from the daughter of a South Bend police officer. And I spoke with that officer about his concerns for the younger officers on the shift that he leads.
They have young families, and I especially feel for them. I mean, I feel fortunate my kids are older. I've watched them grow up, and I want them to have the same opportunity.
This is one of many vigils we've seen across the country in the last month in particular. Some are in support of officers, others are addressing racial tension. Some here tonight say these gatherings alone aren't enough. They want to see measurable change. The council president spoke to the crowd about that.
There's men and women that are doing a really tough job, and sometimes it just takes us to communicate with them. Reach out to them and talk to them, and they will talk to you too.
He challenged everyone in the city to communicate with strangers and police officers as a way to break down barriers. That communication is something I heard echoed by police officers and the mayor. The mayor in particular, he said that change isn't just a question of policy, but also a question of what's in our hearts. Reporting live from South Bend, Veronica Jean Seltzer, Fox 28 News.
Trial is being delayed again for the woman accused in the death of a 19-month-old baby boy while he was in her care. Jackie Rolston is charged with battery against Kirk Coleman. He died in October of 2014 of blunt force injuries while at her private daycare. His death prompted the signing of Kirk's Law, which created a child abuse registry for Indiana after it was learned Rolston had a previous conviction. A new trial date will be set this Thursday. Bad news for your checkbook. Common Council approved added Mishawaka utility charges to electric customers' monthly bills. The new bill will come out to $5.70. That's on top of last year's additional $2.57 per month. But according to Common Council President Ronald Banicki, the price fluctuations are unavoidable.
If we were to get rid of our utility and purchase it through somebody else, it's going to go up even higher. So we are a not-for-profit, so we're not in it to make money. We're in it to break even and take care of our citizens.
The city currently has a 20-year contract with Indiana Michigan Power.
Well, as we showed you last Friday, South Bend's plan to fix its diversity problem was due. Today, the mayor and his new diversity officer explained and defended that plan. Fox 28's Alexis Gray has been following this story closely for months now. She has the very latest.
Good morning. Thanks for coming.
South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg proud and confident about the city's plan to make its workforce more diverse.
Obviously, this is a plan that can only succeed.
Christina Brooks, the city's new diversity officer, presented her plan with more caution.
There's really no quick fix, no silver bullet that's going to take care of all of the issues.
Those issues are not limited to race. As our Fox 28 investigation, Where Are the Women, pointed out back in May,
for women, you see that we have some work to do.
In May, Fox 28 asked Mayor Buttigieg about the lack of women in the city's workforce. He pointed to traditionally male-dominated police and fire departments. But according to this data, the city really lags in hiring women as city technicians, maintenance workers, and paraprofessionals. Brooks says for that to change, every city department needs to get on board.
This process can't be successful unless we have complete buy-in.
Police PIO Captain Robert Hammer says the department looks forward to working with Brooks on the plan.
We're going to embrace this with open arms.
But feels many of the plan's action items, like attending community events, police are already doing.
We can always improve, I would suspect, but I feel that pretty confident that we have a good, strong relationship with our community.
Common Council Vice President Oliver Davis initially voted against a diversity officer position, one that costs taxpayers $90,000 a year.
For the diversity officer, sometimes it gives false hope.
At first glance, Davis is pleased this plan is more substantive, but is holding back his approval until he sees results. Something he says won't happen until the city addresses a wave of racial and sex discrimination lawsuits filed by police officers, and the police tape's case is resolved.
As long as they linger out in the community without unanswered questions, then it creates distrust with this plan.
At South Bend, Alexis Gray, Fox 28 News.
Well, the city says this is a 3-year plan which will better track diversity or lack thereof, but the city did not give a timeline on when the city workforce will actually be more diverse.
It was supposed to be just a quick stop for some food.
But instead, what happened to 2 deputies at a Taco Bell is now national news.
Also ahead, decide to drive through a restricted construction zone in Michiana, and you could wind up with a ticket.
Plus, we are following the latest from Cleveland. This is a live look from the Republican National Convention where you can see former Mayor Rudy Giuliani is speaking there right now. We will keep our eyes on that and have you bring you an update, later in this newscast. Hey, John.
Hey, we got some sunshine, a little more sunshine on store for tomorrow here in Michiana, followed by a lot more heat in store for Michiana. We'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. And we have almost $2,200 in the 5-degree guarantee jackpot. Let's see if we give it away tonight at the bottom of the hour. Don't go away.
You're watching Fox 28 News at 10 with Farron Franzak, Tom Powell, Chief Meteorologist John Fisher, and Sports Director Dean Huppert.